welcome back to my channel. My name is April if you're new here, and today I want to talk about my last 5 favorite fantasy romance books. These are in no particular order, but all of these books I gave either 4 or 5 stars to. I think they are amazing and I think you absolutely should try them out if you can. If you are a lover of all things fantasy romance like I am, you will enjoy. You will enjoy. So let's get right into the books. So the first book I want to talk to you about today is Silver Wings Golden Games. This is the second book of the God-Kissed Brides series by Evie Marceau. This is the second book, like I said, but the first book is White Horse Black Knights. In that book, you have a girl that is God-kissed. She has a special ability, blessed by the gods. She can talk to animals. And she is betrothed to a king. Part of the stipulations of that betrothal is that she needs to reenact some kind of legend, and she needs to ride naked on a horse for 21 days to his kingdom with nothing but one of his guards to guard her. The book I absolutely love. Obviously, it's kind of like a bodyguard romance. What makes this book special to me is that there are some pretty unique elements to this fantasy romance that I haven't seen before in other books. I really like her magical abilities as well. I like that she's not exactly like the strongest heroine I've ever seen in the beginning, but you can totally tell that she's going to have some kind of character arc in this first book. However, the second book, you know, when you go into a series and the second book is usually a little slumpier than the first one. Not this one, not this book. This book is a banger. Oh my gosh, so much happens in this second book. Evie recently said this will end up being a 5-book series, so this series is just getting started if you want to jump in. This second book though, it not only has a pretty explosive cliffhanger at the end of it, but there is an altar scene in this that blew my freaking mind, okay? Blew my mind. This is a spicier romance series, so just be aware of that. And oh my gosh, it's good. It is so good. If you don't like cliffhanger endings in books, don't worry, the 3rd book just came out. Like literally this week came out. So go ahead and binge the first 3 books. I know you'll want to as soon as you start reading it. But yes, this book, love. The next favorite book that I read is Quicksilver. Quicksilver by Kelly Hart. This book, again, it's definitely in the veins of ACOTAR and Fourth Wing. So if you love those books and you just got started reading fantasy romance, jump into this one as well. I think you will love it. This book is about a thief named Saris. She's a very good thief, but one day she kind of gets in a little over her head and steals the wrong thing from the wrong guard. She's arrested, taken to the king, and when she's there and about to be somehow she opens a doorway to another Fae realm. And of course, this realm is of ice and snow. There she meets a character she thinks is Death. And she has to team up with Death to help him win back his kingdom. Or fight with him, or give his people weapons. She's like a blacksmith person. I know that's a really weird and terrible synopsis probably, but let me just tell you, this book has top tier banter in it. This book is fun. It never stops. Even the slower parts are interesting, and you really get to know a lot of the characters in this book and the romance in it. They're just 2 grumpy people that are stuck together, and I freaking love every bit of it. I could not put this book down. It is just one of my absolute favorites. It is a new all-time favorite for me. I absolutely love this book. Can't wait for the next one. This one is part of a series, however, no clue when the next one's coming out. Probably next year, hopefully next year. I really hope so, because I just loved everything about Quicksilver and I cannot wait for more. And then there is Fear the Flames. This is by Olivia Rose Darling. This book, again, is something in the line of ACOTAR and Fourth Wing and Quicksilver. If you like those books, you will probably like Fear the Flames as well. This just recently came out traditionally published, and I really enjoyed it. This book follows a lost princess who has a magical bond with 5 dragons that she's had since she was born. When she turned 5, there was a prophecy, and the king took the very negative approach to the prophecy, thinking that his own daughter was going to destroy his kingdom. So he locked her up in a dungeon at 5 years old, torturing her. She eventually escaped. She is now in her 20s. She has started her own kingdom, but they're in trouble. They're in trouble, and they need to ally themselves to her father's enemy kingdom in order to save their people and feed their people. So she makes a deal with the commander of that kingdom that she will help him fight this war if he helps her rescue her dragons from her dad. So there's a bit of a heist, there's a ton of banter, a lot of adventure, because a lot of this book is a road trip romance, which I love. And then there is a lot of political maneuvering as well, and you get a very solid and just joyful cast of side characters that you root for the entire time. And I loved this whole book. Again, this is another one that is just like, with the action, and the plot just continually moves forward and doesn't really have any lulls in it for me personally. So I really loved Fear the Flames. I cannot wait for the next one. Again, I think this is going to be a series. Oh yeah, it says #1, but there are no plans of a #2 yet that I can see. But whenever that book comes out, I will be reading it for sure. So the next book is Stolen by Wolves. This is by Alexis Robinson, and I do believe this is a completed series. So this is one of those that I'm just catching up on. Technically this is Omegaverse. However, this first book doesn't feel Omegaverse to me at all, which I think would be great as an intro to Omegaverse. This book, you're following Vikings, and these Vikings are also wolves. So that's kind of where the Omegaverse stuff happens. If you've seen movies like The Last Kingdom, those type of things, you'll 100% love this book. This book follows the Vikings. They're trying to expand their territory, and they're allying themselves with this other kingdom to invade England. I don't know if they call it England or not here, but it's the same story, okay? It's the same story if you've watched the Last Kingdom. Basically, that's what's happening. They're infiltrating this kingdom. And then on the opposite side, you have a princess from England. And what's going on is all of these people are kind of governed by the full moon. The men, the Viking werewolf men, on the full moon, they go super feral, and they like have this ritual that's a big orgy. I don't know how else to explain it. And then for the English princess, on the full moon, she is very fertile. So she just is overwhelmed by lust, basically. At some point, the Vikings capture this princess, and during one of the full moons, the captain or king or whatever he is of the Vikings, he has to protect her because he doesn't want any of his men to ravage her. And they have a budding romance. I loved this book not only for that tension, that romantic tension in it from both these characters, because they truly are fighting their nature in this, but this has a lot of political maneuvering in it, and I just love politics in my fantasy romance. Not only do you have some backstabbing and, you know, allies and who's really your ally, and, you know, do you really want these people to be your ally kind of questions when you're reading this book. But it's so good. It's so involved. This is definitely going to be one of those epic fantasy romances, and I need to read the next book. I just need to read the next book immediately. This is supposed to be Why Choose. The first book is not, so if you're not into Why Choose, I think you definitely should try the first book. It was just one of those books that caught me off guard almost. I got this book a long time ago off of Free Stuff Your Kindle Day, and it has been sitting on my Kindle for way too long. Had I known this book would be this amazing, I would have read it much sooner, but you know, what can you do? However, I'm not going to be sitting on this one for very long. I definitely want to continue on with the series. And then the last book I want to talk about is House of Bane and Blood. This is by Alexis Bernard. This is a very different kind of fantasy romance. It's more gas lamp kind of fantasy. However, the nod here is that you have two opposing gangs, and these gangs definitely feel like the show Peaky Blinders. Like 100%, I get the vibes from it for sure. In this, you are following Camilla. Her family is very notorious, one of the notorious gangs on one side of London. And her family is slowly falling into bankruptcy for reasons. And she needs to have a marriage of convenience. She has originally allied herself with one family. However, Nikolai swoops in and agrees to pay more money and more benefits to marry her instead. This is all kind of a whirlwind. He literally shows up on her wedding day, and this causes tension. It causes tension. So this book follows them and their marriage of convenience, him slowly trying to win her over, earn her trust, those kind of things. They do have magic of some sort going on here, and there also is some kind of control over her family's train. Her family owns a train. They kind of, you know, they're just the bigwigs in trade, and everyone's trying to get the train. You know what I mean? So this book was just really cool. I do think in the middle, it was a tiny bit slow for me, and the hero kind of turns good a little too soon for me. However, like the way, again, there is some politics between the families, and it's very mafia-esque. It really gripped me, and I love just this whole fantasy element of the story mixed with the mafia element of the story, and it was just original to me and very cool. I just thought it was cool, like super cool. I don't know how else to describe it. I really enjoyed it. Again, this is another one that ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, so I really want to get to the next one. The next book is out, so don't worry. And yeah, this is just another one that I really want to read. I get so excited when I read books that I really like, and I just want to read the next one, but you know, there's just so many books. I don't know how to get to them any quicker than I am. So those are my last fantasy romance favorites. Let me know if you've read any of these books and liked them. This will be an ongoing series. As soon as I get 5 fantasy romance books that I absolutely love, I will come on here and tell you about them all, because I love fantasy romance and I just want everyone to read these books too. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!